Hi there, Rebekah Koffler here with Censored but Not Silenced. Today's episode will be dedicated to the war in Ukraine that Russia has been waging for 3 years. We're about to enter the 4th year mark in February. Regretfully, I'm here to inform you that it is nearly impossible to end this war. I repeat, it is highly unlikely that even President Donald J. Trump will be able to settle this conflict. And here's why. The conflict began in 2022 after for several years, the Washington establishment has been courting Ukraine to become part of NATO. NATO is an adversarial alliance that was specifically created to counter the former Soviet Union, and Russia considers NATO not only as an adversarial alliance, but also as the top threat to the Russian security. It is codified in the Russian military doctrine as such. And the top 3 reasons right now why this conflict is impossible to end is this. First, the positions of Moscow and Washington are mutually irreconcilable. Here's how. Here's what Putin's position is. Putin wants to keep 20% of Ukraine, the Donbass region that the Russian forces currently control. Putin also wants legal guarantees from Washington and from NATO and from Ukraine that Ukraine will never become part of NATO. The reasons that I just explained. Not only that, Putin also wants the West to recognize those areas, that part of Russia, which the Russians call now Novorossiya, which means the new Russia. It's actually an old term. It comes back from it's an old term that dates back even centuries ago. The Russians called it New Russia because Ukraine was kind of on the outskirts of Russia. So that would be completely impossible for Washington because it would be deeply humiliating. So, and number 3, Putin wants all sanctions removed from Russia. To Washington, this position is absolutely unacceptable. Even the Trump administration is highly unlikely, in my assessment, to accept. Why is that? It would be deeply, deeply humiliating for Washington, even for President Trump, because effectively this is a worse deal than Ukraine would have achieved before the war, because now we've got close to 1 million people dead, not close, but actually 1 million between Russians and Ukrainians. And in President Trump's assessment, it's actually Ukrainians alone dead or gravely wounded. Now about 1 million, right? And for us, for Americans and for Europeans, we spend billions and billions of dollars, right? $200 billion of courtesy of the American taxpayer went to Ukraine for what? To have all these people killed, right? And we have also depleted our own weapons arsenal, both munitions, 155 millimeter shells are to very, very dangerous levels right now, stingers, javelins, etc. So, and now we would conclude that deal that would be absolutely unacceptable and frankly humiliating. So that is unacceptable. And then the next reason is that Putin is going to drive a very, very hard bargain. He is in a position to do so because he has positioned his military and his economy on a wartime footing 7 years prior to the invasion, which means that he feels confident that his forces can finish the job. Yes, there are various pundits who say that the Russian forces are just basically dying in the meat grinder, but that is how the Russians fight. Putin doesn't care how many of his forces are going to be dead or wounded. There are no shortages of people who are willing to sign up to go into the meat grinder because he's giving special incentives to convicts. He's emptying out prisons to send them into the front lines. Putin recently increased the size of the Russian armed forces to 2.38 million troops, which is above the constitutional limit. And 1.5 million of them are actually active servicemen. Just to give you some perspective, U.S. armed forces are about 1 million, and that includes the national reserves, right? In addition to that, Putin can use alternative sources to keep increasing the size of his military. 11,000 North Koreans are now fighting. And anyway, that is what is giving him confidence that he can keep fighting. His military-industrial complex is working 24/7 in 3 shifts to pump out those missiles. So he is confident, the KGB man. And then the third reason is how we know what we know, why this conflict is almost impossible to end, even for someone like Trump, is that we have no leverage with Russia. Unlike China, we don't have hardly any trade with the Russians. There are very few pressure points, if at all, that Trump can put on Putin. Yes, Trump can say that we're going to deploy more troops into the theater, not into the theater, but into Europe. But Putin also knows that Trump is unlikely to deploy troops actually into the theater, into the combat zone in Ukraine, because that would go counter to his mandate from the American people. The reason why Trump won is because he promised to the American people that he's not going to get America involved in endless foreign wars, especially the ones where we don't have any vital interest, and Ukraine has no vital interest at least at the tactical level for America. It's a country in the middle of the Eurasian Peninsula. There are other strategic reasons why Washington decided that we want Ukraine into our sphere of influence and not in Russia's, but that crosses Putin's red lines. He has established those red lines a couple of decades ago. President Trump understands that those are Putin's red lines, so that is a no-go. And I'm going to throw you a bonus here. Another reason is basically President Biden demonstrated to Putin the exact reason why Ukraine is a threat, because Biden authorized Zelensky to use U.S. ATACMS, U.S. long-range missiles, to strike deep into Russia. So the actual threat that Putin is talking about, the reason why he went to war, right, to prevent Ukraine from becoming part of NATO, Biden proved that Putin is correct. Putin cannot afford, strikes into Russia with long-range missiles provided by America. Okay, so he would rather continue fighting until the last Ukrainian, and with the Russian population being 3 times larger than Ukrainians, he can do so. So those are the reasons. There's a lot more detail, obviously, that's involved, but you can find my intelligence analysis on Fox News. If you can just Google Rebekah Koffler and Fox News, there's a series of articles. I've been following this conflict since the very beginning. And in fact, I predicted this conflict back when I was in the intelligence community, in the Defense Intelligence Agency, and then in my book, Putin's Playbook, Russia's Secret Plan to Defeat America. The book is available anywhere and describes the unclassified level, Russia's warfighting strategy, and Putin's mindset. So you can follow me also on any social media, Getter, Truth Social, X, or formerly Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, you name it. So this concludes our episode. This is Rebekah Koffler with Censored but Not Silenced. Thank you for staying with me today, and I will keep producing this series. And also a lot of the information is coming out on some of the domestic situation and the terror attacks that are now here in America. So I will be analyzing that. I have new pieces coming out on Fox News, and I will be informing you of those. Thank you, and I'll catch you later.